everybody, it's Andrew Ambrose for Joy-Con Drift Studios Game of the Week. And this week's pick for Game of the Week from me is Sega 3D Classics Collection for the Nintendo 3DS, developed by M2 and published by Sega. This right here, I consider this to be an essential title, especially if you're a Sega fan like I am. If you have a 3DS, you need to get this game, because it is truly a fantastic collection. And not to mention, it has a very hidden gem on here that I believe everyone should check out at least once in some capacity. Basically, there are 9 classic Sega titles, plus a hidden game on here. Classic Sega titles from the 80s and 90s. These include Power Drift, Puyo Puyo 2, Sonic the Hedgehog, Galaxy Force 2, Thunder Blade, Altered Beast, Fantasy Zone 2, and Maze Walker, and the 9th game is Fantasy Zone 2W. Now, Fantasy Zone 2W is actually a very special case, because it's actually a 16-bit remake of Fantasy Zone 2 done back in 2008 for the Japanese exclusive Sega Ages 2500 series Fantasy Zone Complete Collection. Now, the original Fantasy Zone 2 was a Master System title. It was never originally intended for the arcades. There is an arcade version that existed back in the 80s, but that was done on the System E hardware, which was pretty much just the Master System equivalent of the Nintendo Versus System, which was just an NES, but slightly beefed up, and an arcade hardware instead of a home console. But sometime in the mid-2000s, M2 decided it would be a fun idea to make a 16-bit loose reimagining of what Fantasy Zone 2 would have been like if it were an arcade game instead of a Master System title. So they took the original System 16 arcade hardware, modified it slightly, we called it the System 16C, and made a fantastic reimagining of Fantasy Zone 2 for the Complete Collection. Now, the Complete Collection was originally a Japanese exclusive released back in 2008 for the PS2. So there was legitimately no way you could play that that Fantasy Zone 2 reimagining unless you emulated it. But M2 was kind enough to put that reimagining on this collection, along with the original Fantasy Zone 2, both of which I love very, very much. And not only that, but I mentioned earlier there's a hidden game, and that hidden game is the Master System version of the original Fantasy Zone. You go into the section where it has Fantasy Zone 2 and Maze Walker, and if you click right in the center, the bottom left section of the touch screen, it'll show one of the enemies from the original Fantasy Zone. You tap on that enemy, and you'll get to play Master System Fantasy Zone 1, so that's pretty neat. And these aren't just emulations of the original versions, they also have extra perks and whatnot. Of course, this is a collection of games as a part of the M2's Sega 3D Classics series that they put on the eShop, like re-releases of old Sega titles but with added perks. This is a collection of 9 of those titles, plus an extra game. 7 of those titles, plus 3 extra games. One of those 3 extras being a hidden bonus, which I spoiled for you. You're welcome. But yeah, if you don't have, yeah, it's a great way to get a good number of those, plus a few others. And there are some others not in this collection you could probably check out, though. Most of them have been released for the Nintendo Switch as a part of the Switch Sega Ages series, with even more perks, though they unfortunately didn't put Fantasy Zone 2 or Fantasy Zone 2W on the Switch. So, for the time being, the only way you're going to be able to play it is with this collection on the 3DS. But, like, it's not that bad of a thing. This is a very affordable collection. I was able to find this copy I recently got it about a week or so ago, and it was brand new and sealed, and it only cost me $15 on eBay. It was sealed, it was brand new, only $15. The regular price, if you buy it digitally on the eShop, I think it's $30. But you should be able to easily find a cheaper physical copy of the game, which is what I would recommend doing. But either way, this is a fantastic collection of Sega classics, and I recommend it for any 3DS owner, especially those who are Sega fans such as myself. So yeah, Sega 3D Classic Collection is the game of the week for Joy-Con Drift Studios. My name is Andrew Ambrose, and I hope you enjoyed this video.